โอเคครับก็สวัสดีนะครับโอเคได้ทานข้าวกันเรียบร้อยนะครับทั้งในฝั่งที่เป็นออนไซต์กับข้าวเยอะมากตอน1 กล่อง ทานกันหมดไหมเอ่ย ครับแล้วก็ทางออนไลน์นะครับทางออนไลน์แจ้งนิดนึงนะครับเดี๋ยวตารางสเกดูนะครับตารางหลังจากพักเที่ยงครับจะเป็นการบรรยายในเลคเชอร์นะครับ1 ชั่วโมงสุดท้ายแล้วนะครับแล้วก็จะเบรกกัน15 นาทีพร้อมถ่ายรูปนะครับในฝั่งออนไลน์เมื่อเช้ามีบางท่านเหมือนกันอาจจะยังไม่ได้มีรูปนะช่วงบ่ายอย่าพลาดนะครับอย่างน้อยอยากได้สัก1 รูปนะครับในการที่จะยื่นขอคะแนนให้นะครับช่วงบ่ายนะครับจะถ่ายรูปตอนบ่าย2 โมงครับพักกัน15 นาทีครับแล้วก็ช่วงหลังจากบ่าย2 โมง 15ครับเราจะมาทำเวิร์กช็อปกัน1 ชั่วโมงโดยจะแบ่งเป็น2เซกชันนะครับก็คือจะเป็นเซกชันแรกอยู่เตียงด้านหน้านะครับแล้วก็เซกชัน2อยู่เตียงทางด้านหลังทางฝั่งออนไลน์ก็จะเป็นการดูนะครับร่วมกันนะครับมีในส่วนของการไลฟ์ให้ดูนะครับในส่วนของเทคนิคอุปกรณ์ต่างๆการเซตอัพนะครับแล้วก็การใช้งานอุปกรณ์ต่างๆนะครับส่วนท่านใดทางของออนไลน์นะครับพอดีเห็นว่าขออนุญาตเปลี่ยนเป็นชื่อภาษาไทยตามด้วยเลขใบประกอบนะครับเห็นบางท่านใช้เป็นชื่อภาษาอังกฤษแล้วก็ไม่ได้มีเลขใบประกอบนะครับขออนุญาตเปลี่ยนนะครับตัวชื่อนะครับในการเข้าร่วมเป็นชื่อภาษาไทยตามด้วยเลขใบประกอบตามที่แจ้งนะครับโอเคครับถ้าอย่างนั้นพร้อมแล้วอย่างนั้นขออนุญาตเริ่มเลยนะครับ
So I want to talk a little bit about the history of the shockwave, how everything began. And the shockwave actually was founded in Germany, in so-called Saarland, from Professor Häusler. And he found out if water goes with a high speed on a metal, it creates or generates the shock wave. And this Professor Häusler had the idea that you can use, with this shock wave, you can destroy kidney stones. It was a long way, and Dornier at that time, they have free people, and they said, okay, let's try if we succeed. And in the picture you see the so-called HM3, which was the first unit with a bath, with a water bath, where they put the patient in, and they localized it with 2 tubes of X-ray that they come in the center of the stone, or put the stone in the center of the shock wave focus point to destroy it. It was at the beginning a lot of disadvantage. You have to position the patient, you have to move the bath, the complete bath, you have to prepare a lot of degassed water, and with the X-ray you only can make a short picture and then to try to put the patient in the right position. It was also, you need a special anesthesia, you need anesthetists, and you can only put 500 shock waves, and then they have to change the shock, this electrode, how we call it, to continue. You need engineers to change that electrode. So one treatment from the beginning until finish took 1 day. It was very, very long time for the engineers, for the doctor, but mainly it was very difficult for the patient to attend such a long time. The regulation of the power was also very difficult, but the patient had anesthesia, so he felt nothing, but as I told you, not always easy. He got a lot of hematomas because it was difficult to find the right energy. So all the rest of the companies, they thought how we can manage it to find another system, an easier system to treat patients. Dornier continued, but there was a company, which you know, Siemens. They said, okay, they found another system, it's called EMSE. This is an inductive coil and focused that. I have no picture here, but only to go through. And then the water bath was found that it was much more smaller than this big bath of Dornier. But you need also anesthesia, you need also, what was very important, a heart triggering, because the shock wave affects the heart rhythms, and you need a heart triggering system, which means you cannot go with a high frequency with the shock wave. Also a little bit difficult. Also Dornier continues researching, but this was HM1, and they finished with HM3, which was also called the golden standard. With the golden standard, they sold a lot of machines worldwide, first to all universities, and it was a quite expensive system, so normally the university could afford to buy such an expensive machine. Siemens was the next one, also only with ultrasound. And we said, as Wolf Company, we said it should be better if you only have ultrasound, because you can permanent control the stone. So we use, or that was my research, before I told you, to develop with one engineer in Richard Wolf such a machine. We had no X-ray here, we had only ultrasound here. And we have a permanent control piezoelectric system. It lasts long, not only 500 shots, but 5 million shots. Running costs were cheaper. What was the disadvantage? Was very easy. We had no X-ray. At the beginning, you treat only kidney stones. Later on, the kidney stones was destroyed, but if you have one big stone, then you have a lot of fragments. Sometimes they fell in the ureter. So you have a ureter stone. And now what you do with the ureter stones? Of course, you also try to localize ureter stones and to treat them. And there we had problems only with ultrasound. So Siemens used a so-called X-ray system, system with a so-called C-arm. C-arm was already a kind of digital system which uses only a very low X-ray energy. So you can make longer X-ray, you use it longer time. You don't need a film anymore. You had a screen. And so you can, with a Siemens system, you can well localize also ureter stones. That was a very big advantage. Even some, they treat gallbladder stones. We were specialists in gallbladder because if the gallbladder you can also is filled with a fluid, you can also use very well ultrasound. You see it very well. Bladder stone, because you see a bladder stone very well in the ultrasound. This is so far. Now it comes to the gallbladder. Also, we tried with our system to destroy gallbladder stone. Gallbladder stone to destroy stone is very easy, but to put the fragments out is rather difficult. I think this is Koledochus, is this right name, where the stones have to pass, which is only 2 millimeters, very small. With our system was possible, but if you have too big fragments, like Dornier's system had very big fragments, it was very difficult, and so it was actually no useful operation at that time, was much more better. But with a Wolf system, you can, of course, treat patients without any anesthesia, only kind of sedation was necessary, and a treatment took us round about 30 minutes. Very fast, no anesthesia, no triggering, no heart triggering, and I think it was a great, big advantage to compare it with other machines. Later on, the next generation was then with X-ray, so all other companies had the same. They combined ultrasound with X-ray, but some, like Siemens and Dornier, still use that heart triggering. We use normally 4 Hertz without heart triggering. That means we finish faster the treatments, and the advantage of piezoelectric is you had much more smaller fragments which could pass easily through the ureter. This was also a problem in other machines. You see here, I already explained before, this is 3 examples. This was Wolf, this was the electromagnetic, was Storz, and the first Dornier was on the right, so electromagnetic, and later on Dornier was using also electromagnetic because this spar gap was too expensive, because it lasts only, let's say later on with a refurbished electrode, only 2,000 for one treatment. So you have always to change this thing, costly. Only, for example, costs one electrode costs round about $1,000, and if you have a lot of patients, you pay only for the electrode a lot of money. One treatment at that time, that was, let's say, 1986, cost for Dornier system round about, and I was very often in Japan, cost $10,000, very expensive. And with the other system, like electromagnetic, you don't have to change electrodes. It was much more cheaper. So that was one thing, and now I want only to tell you about ESWT. Before ESWT, they tried other stones to destroy. Now I forgot the name of the, you know, this, what is this, this stone under the tongue, which you have inside. I forgot the name. Okay. We tried some other use of the Shockwave, and then we found out you can use it also for ESWT. At the beginning, Wolf, for example, had a big machine with localization, with ultrasound, ESWT with ultrasound. Siemens had a machine, our was Piezozone 300. Siemens, I cannot remember the name, but Storz has a machine called Mini-Lit. And this Mini-Lit, you can localize the stone, like calcification, which was the first, as also Dr. Lang mentioned, calcification of the shoulder. And with the ultrasound, you could also see the calcium depot very well. But the machine with a localization system was very expensive. So the next step was that EMS brought this so-called radial Shockwave on the market. And we said, okay, maybe a focused one is better. And then Richard Wolf was the next one who brought the ESWT. This was called Piezozone, later Piezowave. And then also Storz was on the market, and all these different. So the Shockwave was really more and more well known in the ESWT treatments. And I think it goes on and goes on. You saw Dr. Lang presented you also more indication, and it will be more and more. I think Shockwave is for regeneration of the cells, famous, and we find it out. We have these reports. And I think the Shockwave will also continue, and there will be more and more indications also in future. That was my short story about the Shockwave. I myself, of course, I like it. I did nothing else, only try and research the Shockwave, and I was very lucky. I was very happy to find out what is Shockwave, how it works, and I'm sure it will continue and will help a lot of patients for healing. Thank you very much. You have questions to that shockwave pulse, energy, it doesn't matter, whatever. If there are any questions regarding the technique of the shockwave, please tell me your questions. No? Okay. So, Dr. Lang will now continue.
So after Peter Vallon gave you a short talk about the history of shockwaves, we go right into the indications. And you were interested in wound healing, so we have some other good cases for wound healing, some examples. You saw one example, and that's another example which you see sometimes the period to heal is longer than that what you saw today in the morning. And so at that patient we did 6 sessions, and it needs a little less than 4 months to get from this to this. Oh no, that's go back. Sorry. Okay, to get from, oh no. This is the mouse is okay. This is another case of ulcoscoris, a male, 78 years. The mouse. And 2 sessions of shockwave therapy, and yes, within a short period of time, okay, thank you. It was at least much better. You know, I cannot say that after this treatment is finished, that wound doesn't occur anymore, because the underlying disease is present. Is again present, so you have to do additional therapy. You have to check the arteries, you have to check the veins, and treat them if there are blocations, or you have to do a dressing, or you do have to do a compression therapy. Yes, don't. That's a very, very hard-looking thing. But when I see the patient is only 57 years old, that was diabetes, and the problem with those diabetes ulcers is that there is so-called diabetes neuropathy, and the patient, even if they have big wounds like that, they don't have pain, or they only have a little pain. If you have a patient with an arterial disease, they usually have very much pain with such a wound. But in diabetes, you have often wounds like this, and the patient doesn't complain about wounds. That makes it easy to do some surgical therapy on this, because for sure this is nearly pain-free. But in this case, we did shockwave therapy too, and this was 5 months after the last shockwave therapy, but it went on, and it opened again quite a period later. So we have to start. I want to show you that, as I said before, shockwave therapy on wounds is just an additional tool, and you can't heal everything. Okay, that's another wound, 87-year-old lady, and you see the shape of the wound. And yes, this was within, let's say, 2 months, and it changed from here to here, but yeah, it's still present. So we have to go on. On these X-rays, you might see the calcification of the artery then, and the bone is affected too. And one effect of this therapy in that case was that there was an improvement on the bone. We had the wound, and afterwards we saw that the bone was better too. So that's an additional effect. Okay. That wounds or these ulcers are too typical in diabetic patients and in arteriosclerotic patients. And yes, the location is sometimes not so easy to treat, but you can treat it as well, and you can show a very much improvement over time and over this period. Another case, and yes, sometimes it gets worse again, so you have to check again. Not only, as I said it before, not always you have success in this treatment, but it's challenging to treat wounds like that, and you have to, if the underlying disease, for example, is a diabetes, you have for sure treat the diabetes. Another example some years ago, and not all of these were made by Shockwave. This in 2014 was treated by the Piers Suzanne from Richard Wolf. Okay, and you see sometimes the wound shape changed, and so you have to treat another area in this woman. Yeah, sometimes you have very astonishing effects, but I never thought that this wound could probably heal, but under certain circumstances, it healed. And here you see, if you see this wound and this scar, it's lightly a less scar for a wound like this. Okay. A newer patient. So in this case, probably the therapy is ongoing. It's the shape of the wound, it changes, and you have to probably alter your therapy. You have to look after the bone. You have to make X-rays if there is some bone loss, then, and address this then too. That's again a good example. I show you these pictures because for the other treatments, they are not so, let's say, spectacular pictures. If I treat the insertion point of a tendon, I can show you pictures. So I choose these pictures to tell you the effect. Wound healing research find that even the complicated wounds under application of Shockwave, not in all cases, but often heal faster, and you don't have to change your additional therapy, or you do your additional therapy or your ground therapy, tell it like that, as before. It might, the Shockwave therapy for sure does make the microcirculation better, but if, as I said it in the morning, if the underlying problem is full blocking of the big arteries, you can't have such a good effect with the Shockwave therapy. Okay, further investigate. to find out what is going about with vessel disorders. Okay. So that's the end of that presentation. Do you have questions to the wounds or to any other indications so we can answer it? Or are there probably some questions out of the internet? Just take a look. Yeah.
โอเคครับทางออนไซต์มีไหมครับคำถามไหมเอ่ยทางออนไลน์โอเค
In Germany, it's becoming more and more common, even in professional sports medicine, to immediately use shockwave therapy. If you look at the guidelines from ISMSD or DGISC, you hardly find recommendations for treatment acute things. But in the last, let's say, 5 years, it was more and more common to treat acute muscular problems of professional athletes by shockwave therapy. But the problem is, I told you in the morning, you have to respect the biology, and if there's you have to make sure that the injured tissue heals then, and that's sometimes the problems with professional athletes. They want to immediately start again their training and their professional sports because they earn money with that, and they earn a lot of money with that. Okay. No? Is that it? The conclusion. You would, a person on the online meeting wants to see these last slides. Is it right, or does he have a special question with this? The wound healing. I think the wound healing is the principle for the wound healing is similar to that makes heal the insertion points of the tendons too. You increase the blood circulation, and you make the stem cells migrate, and they achieve then with the local tissue the closure and the healing of the wound. But as I said before, shockwave alone is not the key. It's an additional tool for the wound healing, to improve the wound healing. I think that we have to say. But on the let's say histological point of view, if you look on this tissue under the microscope, you sometimes the researchers are very impressed, but because you don't see less scar tissue, you see more, let's say, rather normal tissue. That's astonishing. That's special for the shockwave therapy.
Okay. โอเคครับถ้าทางออนไซต์แล้วก็ออนไลน์ไม่มีคำถามเพิ่มเติมอย่างนั้นเดี๋ยวขออนุญาตให้เริ่มในเซสชันในส่วนของอธิบายเกี่ยวกับพวกเครื่องมือพื้นฐานเบื้องต้นก่อนนะครับแล้วก็เดี๋ยวเซสชันที่หลังเบรกเข้ามาจะได้เริ่มทำรักษากันจริงๆเลยนะครับโอเค
So I'm going to present
there's something a little bit. The sound is not so good.
I think change to. I think if
So, I want to show you how to use the unit, how easy it is. Is it the right position? Is it okay for the camera? So, for example, this is a Shockwave unit called the Wave. We have in front is a touch panel to make the control a little bit easier. So you see it always, we switched it on. So I want to show you what we have, the unit. This is the so-called handpiece. The handpiece which you use for applying the shock waves. I will say later on, I will tell something to the handpiece. We have here the touch panel where you can give all your orders to the machine. And we have downstairs here our box where all the necessary parts are inside. I just put it here, thank you. So, if you see here, I don't know if you can, not so good, huh? To read. You can maybe, it's a little bit difficult, but maybe we can focus it a little bit or make it more darker. This is no problem. I don't know. Shall I come closer to you, to the camera? Oh, now you see nothing. Now you see nothing. I think like this. Now you see better. If I put this bottom here, this is not, the picture is not good here. I don't know why. You see the shock waves on the left side. We call linear. Linear means, now it's getting slowly better, but it's not yet, you have to adjust the lens a little bit. The linear system, then I go to the pulse mode. Pulse mode means you are 5 seconds on the high level with frequency and intensity, and 5 seconds on the low level. We call it pulse. You have the next vario mode. That means a variation of frequency and intensity. We call it also triangle mode because it looks like a triangle. Maybe you can come a little bit closer with the camera. I don't. No, actually not good, so good. Okay, this is a triangle mode, and this is what Dr. Lang prefers. It's a so-called invert mode. And the invert mode means that you have high intensity and at the same time low frequency. I hope you can see it. It's a picture quality is not good. Why ever? I don't know why. I can try to move it a little bit. This is no, this is bad. Yeah, maybe this is better. Shall I put it here a little bit? Now it should be better because we are very close. Now. So now it's very good. I don't know. Right. Okay, we continue. You see, on the left side, we have our vario modes. First the linear, then the pulse. The second is a pulse mode, then the triangle mode, and what is on here is a invert mode. Then I can adjust it very easily to switch. And here on the right side, you see, I go back to the linear mode. You see the intensity at first, frequency, the pulses, maximum 2000 pulses, which means that after 2000 pulses, the machine will automatically stop. So I can choose if I want to give 1000, I can put 1000 on it. If I can 2000, the number. So what we do, the next, now it's good, perfect. So, okay, here on the right side, this is the start button. I push the button, and that means I'm ready to go. I can start with the treatment. I take the handpiece. Where is it? Here? Yeah, good. I take the handpiece and start. You hear the sound and start the procedure. This works with a pneumatic. That means we create the shock wave with air. I told you already what kind of projectile we have inside. We have a ceramic projectile. Maybe later we can show it to you. And you see here, if I push, you see the pulse counter counts and stops automatically when I reach these 2000 shock waves. In this mode, which we call therapy mode, you can choose your settings yourself, because the doctor has now enough experience and can say, okay, I choose my settings myself. With home, I go back and I go to indications. Shockwave, you choose a setting alone. Indications. Indications means that I can choose the patient's disease or indication. For example, now I take here, you see here the shoulder. And then you see on the right side, intensity 8, frequency 5, pulses 2500. These are recommendations from some doctors we put together, which doesn't mean that you have to use it. As already Dr. Lang mentioned, the best way is to get your own experience and also choose your settings your own. So I push the start button, and now you see the mode I have now linear. I start intensity 8, frequency 5, pulses 2500. That means I just can put the start button and the treatment can begin. Only recommendations. Here I can choose my vario modes. I have 3 different vario modes, and normally the doctors do like that. They start treatment, go until the maximum toleration of the patient. The patient said, okay, I tolerate this and this energy, please stop. And then after that, I go to, for example, this vario mode, and then you see the settings, linear only for you to remember. Settings, I have now intensity 8, frequency 5. So I go under triangle mode and I have intensity 7 between 7 and 9, frequency between 4 and 6. And it sounds like this, only for, maybe, start. A little bit. No. You see, it start. If you hear this, it increases the frequency and parallel also the intensity. Yeah? Go down and go up. So we decrease and increase frequency and intensity, depending what you have here, what you set here. I have now the triangle mode, or I set the pulse mode, 5 seconds high, 5 seconds low frequency. That means it will change. Now you see, now it goes high, the frequency. After a while, after some seconds, now you hear it goes down. So you can choose your vario mode depending on the indication, or to make possible that the patient accept a higher energy. Yeah? That is very important, these settings. With home, I go always back to the screen. So I go now to trigger points. Dr. Lang will also tell you later something about trigger points. I only know that everywhere in the body we have trigger points, which causes sometimes a lot of pain. And therefore, there are different trigger points. You see here, I only touch, and then I see which tendons or muscles are involved in this part of the body, these kind of trigger points. As I told you, Dr. Lang will also say something about these trigger points. Also here you can start and you can treat all body, all kind of trigger points. With home you always come back again. I want to show, if you have these trigger points, you see the different areas with the different muscles and tendons. So on the right side you see the name, the way you know exactly what you are treating. So we continue, and there we write individuals. There's some German patients I see here. You can, of course, can write down, you can make a protocol. Well, all your patients you treated when they are born. This is and for example also which indication you treated. So you can store all patient data. You can push it you can transfer it with a USB stick to your computer. So you have the history of all treatments. If you did the patient 3 times or 5 times, you can always have the history. You can make a documentation about your treatments and can transfer this documentation also on your computer or put it back. The next one, what we have, is a language. Of course, unfortunately, we don't have your language on the machine. Maybe we can do it, but actually I don't know the language. But you can choose all kind of languages, I think, but you all speak perfect English, so it should be no problem for you. This is for all. Then you see how many we write import, export. Import, export means you put all the patient data which are on the unit to the computer, or can take it back. Yeah? This is import, export. I push here. Import, export. Language, And then the sound, of course, it is not important. Which sound, if you use the button, which sound you got, or service, also you can, there's a possibility to contact with the machine direct our service department if there should be any problems, any mistake. So I go back, and the next button is, I think, also important. They said changing the applicators. That means for all user of the machine, they have an instruction video who tell you exactly how to change things, how to look, how to change applicator, how to clean applicator. You see, it's sometimes a help, because if you use a machine, you forget how to do it, and you don't have to look at an instruction manual. If you have a video, it's easier, I think, to find out per video. What I want to add is, we have a special foot switch, I told it this morning, where we control energy and also our vario modes. That is important. Beside is for the jail is of course important. Use always jail. Maybe I can show you these applicators. How can I do it? Can I put it like this? Yeah. So you see inside applicators, 2 are inside and 1 applicator we have at the moment here. It's very, very comfortable, very easy. If you open the applicator, you just saw it in the video, very easy. 1 minute you can change, because we have 3-1. In addition, we have some bigger applicator to use it for bigger areas. That's it. So that is nearly all to explain. That means it's very easy to handle, because you want to treat patients. You need a fast and easy procedure. You don't have to learn too much. Everything is described in videos on the machine, so that is okay. Maybe I forgot something. Please ask your question. What kind of question you have in regard of using our machine? Are there any question, or is everything clear? Yeah. Yeah. How to use the different settings or the different vario modes. I transfer the question to my friend Andy. He knows it much more better than me. Andy, if you would like to come.
So now we go into the therapy, how to use the vario mode. One thing to say, you learned that I usually use the so-called vario mode, and you learned that I usually use a focus, wide focus system. Just want to say again, you have a tip like that, let's say about 1 centimeter in diameter, and the smaller the tip is, the deeper your energy gets into the patient. So to say, if you want to treat a tissue that's not so deep inside, like a wound or like a slim person with a epicondylitis, it might be better to use this tip, which is 2 centimeters in diameter, or approximately 2 centimeters. You have the same energy with this or this other tip, but in the depths, let's say deeper than 3 centimeters, you don't have so much energy again. So if you want to treat, for example, Achilles tendon or shoulder, you might use the smaller tip, and if you are at the patellar tendon, at the insertion of the patellar tendon, at a slim person, you might use the bigger tip. But you have to choose. And the therapy starts, my personal therapy, I'm experienced, I start with the individual program. I always start with the linear. I personally always start the frequency with 4 Hertz, and with the linear, at each indication, I try to find out how much intensity it can be given. Okay, according to the patient's pain for sure. And why don't I go on with linear? Because we found out that the variation invert mode gives the better results. As Peter stressed, I want to say it once more. If the frequency is low, you deliver more energy, and if the frequency is high, you deliver less energy. Why is this helpful? It is helpful because I said before, we said it several times, with Shockwave you put mechanical stress on the cells. And if you put high energy on the cells, it might be good for the cells that they have a little time to relax. If you use the low frequency, the time till the next shot comes or the next impulse comes is longer than with the higher frequency. So the relaxing time or the recreation time, it doesn't matter how you call it, for the tissue is longer. And I think that's the effect that the outcome of the patient is better, and you can use a higher intensity of energy. But as I said it in the morning, it's not often is the problem the higher intensity, the better are the results. You have to be in a certain range. Okay, so I think the person who asked the question wanted to know, when do you use this mode and when do you use this mode? And I often asked, what are these modes for? The rectangular and the triangular. Let's say, for me, as I'm a user of this machine since 10 years, these two other modes are a little bit historical. The invention was to alter frequency and intensity within the therapy. And the first vario mode was like this. If you higher the frequency, you put higher energy on it. But there is, let's say, in my hands, the better various mode is the invert mode, as I told you right before. And the rectangular mode was the first mode which provided a changing of frequency and therapy. So it's a little bit, for me, it's a little bit historical. I usually, all the time, my usual therapy is first linear at the first session, and then within the first session, and for all other sessions, I immediately use this invert mode. Okay? Long answer for a short question. No. Okay. Okay. So should we have a break now and then afterwards we make the treatment, the workshop? Yeah. Okay. So we have probably a little longer time for the workshop.
มีคำถามไหมครับฝั่งออนไซต์มีคำถามเพิ่มเติมไหมครับออนไซต์ทางออนไลน์ก็ได้นะครับ ถ้าอย่างนั้นไม่งั้นเดี๋ยวเราจะได้เบรกกันสักแป๊บหนึ่งก่อนขออนุญาตเวลาในการเซตอัพสถานที่เพิ่มเติมนิดเล็กน้อยครับแล้วเดี๋ยวจะได้เวิร์กช็อปจริงกันนะครับเมื่อกี้น่าจะได้ทราบเกี่ยวกับเรื่องอุปกรณ์ประกอบคร่าวๆและที่เรากำลังจะใช้ทำแลบกันนะครับพวกหมวดต่างๆในการใช้เดี๋ยวทุกคนที่นี่น่าจะได้ลองฟิลครับทางออนไลน์เองก็น่าจะได้เห็นภาพมากขึ้นในตอนที่ใช้งานนะครับโอเคครับอย่างนั้นทางออนไซต์สามารถเบรกได้เลยครับส่วนทางออนไลน์นะครับขออนุญาตแคปหน้าจอนะครับอีกรอบหนึ่งนะโอเคเขาออนไลน์เบรกได้เลยครับ15 นาทีนะครับโอเคครับทางออนไลน์ครับขออนุญาตให้เปิดหน้าจอไว้นะครับเปิดหน้าจอนะครับทุกท่านนะครับใครที่พลาดไปเมื่อตอนช่วงเช้าอย่าลืมนะอันนี้นะแล้วก็ทางออนไลน์นะครับแคปหน้าจอรอบนี้เสร็จจะมีเช็คเอาท์นะครับตอน4 โมงนะครับเพื่อยืนยันนะครับช่วงเวลาในการเข้าอบรมนะครับให้ครบถ้วนนะครับอย่าเพิ่งไปไหนนะถ่ายรูปเสร็จแล้วก็อยู่ก่อนนะครับจนถึง4 โมงเย็นนะครับทำการเช็คเอาท์ก่อนโอเคครับท่านที่อยู่ออนไลน์นะครับเปิดหน้าไว้นะครับโอเคเริ่มถ่ายรูปนะครับเปิดไว้นะครับเปิดหน้าจอนะครับขออนุญาตยังเปิดค้างไว้ก่อนนะครับสักครู่หนึ่งพอดีผู้เข้าร่วมหลายท่านนะครับยังไม่เสร็จนะครับอย่าเพิ่งไปไหนนะฝั่งออนไลน์นะครับสักครู่หนึ่งนะครับเปิดหน้าจอค้างไว้ก่อนนะครับอีกแป๊บเดียวครับอีก2 หน้านะเดี๋ยวอีก2 หน้าครับอีกหน้าเดียวครับเปิดหน้าจอไว้นะครับหน้าสุดท้ายแล้วเรียบร้อยครับโอเคครับอย่างนั้นเบรก15 นาทีนะครับฝั่งออนไลน์ขอเวลาในการเซตอัพสักครู่ครับ